How's everybody doing tonight? Give me one in the chat if you can hear me. Give me one in the chat. Let me get the chat up. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to the GRC Mafia regime. Shout out to Operation Takeover. I don't think I've seen you in a minute. Thanks for joining. I think I seen you on my man Elevate to New Heights. I think it's the name of the new channel. I've been checking him out. Shout out to White. What's good? The Zombie Crew. Facts. I think I'm getting peer pressure to change my times. Got a one. Shout out to She Stole My Thunder. Just me, all good. Glad to see you again. Hopefully Canada's doing well. Courtney G, thanks for joining. 1-1. You know how we do it. If you got anything in the chat, when is a good time? Usually anytime. I'm in the Discord or just hook me up. We can definitely private chat. I need to start checking my email. I've just been super busy trying to get this course done. But yeah, we can definitely hook up. You know how we do it. If you got any IT or cybersecurity questions, drop them in the chat. You see it right there, System and Information Integrity. Once again, NIST 800-53, really R5, revision 5. Almost done. So shout out to Chris. We're talking about doing some labs. You see it right there, second to the last one. There's the 20 cybersecurity families. SI, System Information and Integrity. This year's count, I can't believe it's February already. My fault. When the granddaughter's hitting me up, got to check them out. Once again, System Information Integrity. Those are security families. Pretty big one. I just did a couple sides at the end, but we probably kind of go through these and kind of hit a few of those head on. Shout out to White, personally identify information quality operations. I thought that was something unique. I don't remember seeing that one. I thought that was interesting. De-identification, information diversity, and information fragmentation. I didn't really hit on those very often. I think they're actually in the NIST 800 high, actually. So I think those are some of the new privacy stuff. NIST is kind of putting their toe in a little bit on those particular ones. If you want to dive into them, we can definitely dive into them. I always bring up the NIST documentation and delve into the at SI 22, 23, 21, 19. Once again, from a privacy standpoint, shout out to Study GRC with their privacy streams. I think they're taking 6 weeks off, then they're gonna hit it back again. PBO is trying to get a little better on the privacy part of NIST, just trying to put my toe in it, right? So I think it was security, then kind of GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. And I think the next level of that is privacy. Then I think over top of privacy really is going to be legal. Let's see what my man said. I'm getting my IT fundamentals, looking at my CCNA. We like you, right? Basic data. That's cool. My networking is my weakest piece, to be honest. I keep saying I'm gonna work on my networking, especially from the cloud standpoint, and get a little better at my networking. Actually, I was thinking about taking the CCNA, so no, that's definitely a good place to start. Let's see, we'll definitely be back in March. Oh, check out my man. They're gonna be definitely back in March. Shout out to my man Mike V for joining us. Part of the Black Brain Trust. I'm usually hanging out with those guys. They definitely giving out great content over there. So let's go ahead and hit it. The SI system. Of course, my dumb butt forgot to change the title. This is SI system integrity. I'm about to change all these slides. What's going on with PBO today? He is slacking. I'm glad I noticed that. So remember, this system integrity SI. We're gonna have to tighten up the slides. PBO struggling, struggle streaming already. Let's get back to it. PBO struggle streaming. I hate when I make mistakes like that, but that's part of the game. So once again, system and integrity. The SI, not the SC family, but we're gonna just overlook that and change the slides, tighten them up. We can pick up. Yeah, definitely. Send that. I'll make sure I check on you. Operation Takeover. I need to check on my email. And if I forget you, just put a comment on one of my YouTube videos. I can see those pop up. I don't get a lot of views, so I'll definitely check on you. But yeah, just send me an email. We'll definitely link up. So SI2 flaw remediation, identify, report, and correct system flaws. Test software firmware updates related to flaw remediation and effectiveness. Install software relevant software and firmware updates. Incorporate flaw remediation into the organization and configuration management process. So for me, the big piece in there that I think is coming about is the firmware. I think that some was added. I think now people are attacking at the firmware level, and I think we were lax at updating the firmware. We're patching, we're configuration management, we're testing, but I think the firmware had some security patches in there that we were definitely missing, which is I wouldn't say weird because I get lazy on my own personal machine doing those firmware upgrades because sometimes you have to actually go out there and get them. I think the patching process on OSs are a lot better, but I think we need to start going out there at least monthly and looking for those firmware upgrades from a security perspective. Then once again is getting your configuration management process tight. So you should have CI configuration management items, and one part of that should have version on there is what's your firmware update. Right. So as you test, you update your Windows, update your firmware, update your OS, update your web server, your app server on that particular server. And that too will be your configuration management. So once again, part of that should be the firmware. I think we were a little laxed on the firmware. Malicious code protection. Implement a signature-based and non-signature-based malicious code protection mechanism at system entry and exit points. Once again, to detect or eradicate malicious code. Automatically update malicious code protection mechanisms as new releases are available in accordance with the operational configuration management policy and procedures. So once again, part of your malicious code is, once again, when you're doing .NET or updating Java releases, right? Once again, part of your configuration it's getting those releases from, once again, your code, your Java, your SQL Server, your Oracle, because you can run code in your databases and, of course, web servers. But then at the top, Defender gives you a lot of malicious code checks. Then on top of that, if you got uh, IBM Fortify, it'll check your codes. If you got open source Java, there's Find Bugs, and PPMD is some things that'll look through your code. But once again, what's your process? Hopefully, as your development team checks codes into their branches, you automatically run those services. Right? When you check some in the branch, it'll scan for malicious code, it'll scan for viruses, it'll scan your code base to make sure you're on a valid version of that particular code. Once again, .NET, ASP.NET, Java, right? So that malicious code protection should be in there when you check in your branches and stuff. So the other part of that is configure malicious code protection. That's what I was talking about. Perform periodic scans on the systems, implement weekly and real-time scans from external source endpoints, either block or quarantine tech and send alerts to system administrator. So if you find malware, malicious code, or vulnerability, should you let that code be able to go to production? Right. The answer should be no. Address the percent level false positive during malicious code detection and eradication, resulting potential impact on availability of your system. Right. So as you do those scans and your virus, part of that should be what's the security impact of that, and what, once again, if you patch this, could it break something else? Um, would it affect your OS, or once again your firmware? So you have to do those impact analysis. Once again, malicious code protection. So let's go in there. I can't believe I messed these slides up. PBO got to do a better thing. Yep, I got you. Once again, if you got any questions, cybersecurity or information tech, just put them in there. Like I said, I'm probably going to drop the link in a little bit shortly because this is pretty short. System integrity. Once again, system monitoring. That's a pretty big family. Monitor the systems to detect attack and indicators of potential attacks according with the following: IT cybersecurity and monitoring, unauthorized local and network and remote connections. So monitoring, in AWS, would be your cloud watch. Flowing into the big dog would be Splunk, right? So Splunk, you can have your MITRE checks in your Splunk, or the other one would be log analytics. If you're in Azure with Sentinel sitting on top of your log analytics, which do your MITRE checks, your AI, your machine learning, right? We can peek at that. I didn't put really in that my slides, but from a system monitoring, which is going to flow down to your SIEM. Identify unauthorized use to systems to a variety of techniques and methods. Invoke internal monitoring capabilities and deploy the monitoring devices strategically within the system to collect organizational determined information. And that's one thing we're going to talk about. And I think I did a couple of videos on that, is from a federal level, what should you be logging, right? When I go look at a lot of SOC, right? Security Operational Centers, DBAs, web admins, I'm like, well, how do you know what to log? They always get this weird look on their face, right? So what's best practices? If you're doing federal, what does NIST tell you to log? People know I'm an IRS specialist. It's called a schisms. They tell you what to log. So that's kind of one of the labs I'm going to do, is from a SIM perspective, what you should log, how do you get into the SIM, right? Because they don't want you to keep the logs on the box that the logs are coming from, because your hacker is going to get on your web server, right? So they get on your web server, they're going to delete your logs. That's why you should move those logs to your SIM. So, but we're going to keep going. So let's see. Invoke internal monitoring capabilities strategically within the system. Analyze detected events and anomalies, right? So that's where your Sentinel come in from Azure. Your Splunk has those anomalies, right? If you know what MITRE is, the TTP, what techniques and processes the bad guys are using to actually hack your system. Because you got to remember when you log into big systems, there could be petabytes of log information. So you need some kind of machine learning, or everybody's saying AI, but help you go through your logs and figure out if somebody's actually attacking you. What's up, John Doe? Glad you could join me. Yeah, what's going on? We're doing a little NIST 800 system integrity. PBO messed up the slides. We're going over the system integrity. Shout out to Todd. How many audits do you work on at one time? Does your company allow you to finish an audit before moving on to another one? Trying to get the idea on the day-to-day life working with GRC. It just depends on the maturity level of the company. When I worked for the state, they kind of did one audit at a time because they were, working on the state. So they would get like an IRS audit, then a state board account. I work with consultants that work for the big four accounting, especially from the IRS, Booz Allen. They actually work on 3 audits simultaneously. So before they go out to a client, they get your policies and procedures. So they looking at it like looking at where they flying out to your organization. Then they're actually working on an audit where they're actually on site getting your artifacts in, which be your SOP, your procedures, getting your scans. And while they're doing that one, they're finishing up the third audit that we're doing. So big accounting firms, because they pay those guys a ton of money. A lot of times they're working on 3 audits at a time. A lot of times I see most commercial audits, you're probably working on um, 2 audits. Then I'm usually probably working with the development team if we're doing customer development. So that'll be internal audit going over the OWASP top 10. I might be working with the infrastructure team. So if I'm working for a client, state, or a corporate, I'm probably doing 2 official audits. But once again, I'm working with different teams. I might be doing um, incident response exercise, right, or DR exercise. So it just depends on the level of the company, the complexity and maturity. But normally you're probably working on a couple audits, then working on with some teams locally. So let me know if that answers your question, being tech. PBO kind of tired. Shout out to Ty. I need to get the depends on the ship. If you can so you make facts. So me and Dwight agreed. So yeah, you work with the big four, you working on about 3 big audits at the same time. Because you gotta turn them because they're getting paid. So, like I said, I worked on smaller companies. I'm just kind of chilling, working on 1 audit, and then I've been working at bigger companies where they're doing like 3 audits. You work with two incident response exercise internal. So let's see. So yep, let's keep going. I'm bumming. I'm glad I saw that. I think I messed that up. Oh my god, I gotta go check on that. Adjust the level system monitoring activities when there's change in risk organization. Obtain legal opinion regarding the system monitoring activities. Provide the output from system monitoring to the designated agency officials. They want you a minimum every 2 weeks and sooner if deemed necessary. It's hard to get to your boss, especially if you report to a CIO or a compliance director or even legal. So I try to do dashboards so people can review that stuff every 2 weeks. Um, Obtain legal opinion regarding system monitoring. So what does legal opinion be? A lot of times is what you should be logging. And sometimes, a lot of times, you might be talking about, shout out to the white, you could be logging stuff for GDPR, CCPA. And a lot of times that stuff is kind of legalese. So, especially for me, if I do anything on GDPR, I'm sending that to legal. That's why we got Dwight in the house. He's going to be the GDPR expert, or that CCPA, that Cali privacy is a little detailed. So, if I'm confused or something we need to be monitoring, I run that by legal. Half the time, legal sends it back and like, dude, that's a security information. But so I see that a lot. Shout out to that. Once again, that GDPR and that CCPA is is brutal, especially from a privacy standpoint. Once again, I think privacy's the new hot thing. Nice. I just got an IT job, mostly help desk. Shout out to the help desk. That's a great place to start. But I'm doing a lot of other projects as well. Early 30s, switching careers, hopefully get my CCNA basis. Move to side 110. Thank you. You're welcome. Good luck on that. If you got any questions, just shoot me an email, professorblackOps@gmail.com. We can chat up. But now you're doing the right stuff. CCNA is the best help desk. Get your networking. Try to get on a networking team. Once you get on a networking team, you can pivot to cyber. Um, I'm staying out of that regime. I think it is what it is. I think as you can see, they're cutting down some federal jobs. So the good thing, Regine, I think the positive that, which is not a lot of positive, I think Musk and President Trump, they're usually dealing with consultant work. So I think a lot of bigger consulting companies is going to get a lot of government work. So even if you have those NIST, CMMC for DOD, IRS Pub 1075 for IRS, IRS 4812 if you're a contractor working on IRS, CGIS if you're working for FBI and state police. I think all that's actually just going to move from federal to consulting firms. So I think consulting firms are going to eat on that. Um, I think their cyber's going to be fine. I think they're trying to cut CISA though, which has a lot of jobs. Once again, I think that work is going to roll over to consulting firms. But we can definitely talk about that and chop that up. Let's see. I've been mentally rut lately. I feel you, man. I'm right there with you. I got to finish this course. I'm struggling to finish this course. Now I've looked at my slides I used. I like, oh my God, I didn't have the right security family at the top. So I think I'm gonna have to go redo that little module in there. Shout out to me. But once again, security alerts, receive system alerts and advisories from US CERT, MSI SACA, product vendors. Generate internal security alerts, advisory, disseminate security alerts and advisory to the appropriate personnel with security responsibility. So most companies, once again, I was a big Oracle guy, still am. They give you security alerts on their database. If you go to US CERT, MSI SACA, they give you vendor alerts also. If you look at CVEs, the vulnerabilities are on vendors. So there's 3 or 4 things you need to look at. Then when you get audited, you need to show that you sign up for those vendors alert. Putting them in a SharePoint area where everybody can see those vendors. When you put them in a SharePoint area, those should automatically get emailed out to certain personnel. So, uh, do y'all follow the CISA security alerts? Not like I should, but um, I don't usually. Probably should. That's a good thing to bring up. I gotta write that down. I gotta redo those slides. Bumming already. Let's keep rolling. Security and privacy functions. Verify the correct operations of security and privacy function. Perform the verification of functions specified the system transactional state. Alert personnel to failed security and privacy verification test, which we never do. D, shut the system down and restart the systems when anomalies are discovered. We do that, but a lot of times if they find an anomaly, they want you to shut down the system. We're like, dude, we gonna get $38 billion in tax information. We're not shutting down the system unless it's calculating something wrong. Not if something in the security is not working, right? So once again, it depends on what part of production, what part of the year, right? Different parts of the year has different importance to businesses. Once again, software, firmware, and information integrity. Employ integrity verification tools to detect unauthorized changes of the following software, firmware information. Take the following actions when unauthorized changes to the software, firmware, information are detected. immediately disconnect the device from the network and notify designated agency officials. A lot of that should be part of your run book and automation, right? When your integrity verification tools detect some unauthorized, you should better hit a run book and move that VM or EC2 to a different part of the network. Lock it down. You want to flush your open files, your closed files. What state that particular EC2 VM or Docker or Kubernetes is at that particular part. So when your red team comes in, they know the state of it. Oh, appreciate you. Don't forget the like button when you come in, family. Let's share the greatness of Brother PB. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You see it right there, spam protection. Employ spam protection mechanisms and system entry and exit points. Update the spam protection when new releases are. The cool thing is there's a ton of spam. I think Defender has spam protection in it. So most people use that out the box. You get the updates. You get to check the box from a GRC perspective. So that's some of the things we have to document it. Shout out to my man Chris. We were going over the risk registry this morning, going over some of that. And my philosophy is, and he was 100% right, is a lot of times when you do NIST is going to handle a lot of those risk register stuff, right? Do you have threat modeling? Do you have insider threat protection? Do you have spam protection, right? A lot of those are in there where you can check the box, right? And they're going to ask you if you have those. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. What's that from a risk register standpoint, and throwing that into a poem, and what does that look like? So input validation. Me as a programmer, you want to make sure you have validation. Check the validity of information input. Check the valid syntax in there. Usually we do a fuzz testing. What fuzz testing does, it goes to each input validation and it'll try, if it's a character, it'll try numbers in there. It'll put hidden characters in there. The thing it does is it'll probably put HTML characters in there and see if you can do cross-site forgery or some of those OWASP top 10. So it'll actually run through all those checks for you. So shout out to the fuzz testing. Generate error messages that provide information necessary for corrective action without revealing information that could be exploited. Reveal error message only to designated agency officials. Two is you got to be careful with error handling. I remember I was at DOD, younger junior programmer he was showing everything on error handling. He was showing SSN. So I'm like, no, we can't show the SSN player. So we could actually put that and kind of redact it inside the SIM. Then if we need that level of error handling, we can go on the SIM and decrypt it so we know what the error message was for that particular person, right? So you got to be careful when you start throwing errors, right? You don't want to give out too much information. Information management and retention. Manage and retain information within the system. Information output from the system in accordance with applicable laws, executive order, directives, regulations, policy standard, blah, blah, blah. So what does that mean? A lot of times, especially when you work for states, right? So what's the state law for? Once again, I did taxes, so there's certain things for refund of taxes, certain things if you couldn't get a refund out, right? So IRS information you got to keep for 7 years for logging. So if you get breached, you can go back for 7 years and kind of figure out what got lost. So what's your retention? FOIA for the executive suite is 25 years, right? So if executives are doing something in the system and it's similar to email, you got to keep those for 25 years. Right? So once again, you just need to know those retention requirements. Let me drop the link. Here's the here's all the sub security families. We just went over probably 10 or 11 of those. Now PBO has to redo the slide, so he not happy. He got to go redo that module. I got to tighten that up. Let's see what my man says. Shout out to Ben Tech. No problem. Uh, Now they want to use tokens and something if it's really sensitive. Oh no, you facts, facts. A lot of times too is we would put a surrogate ID in there. Then if the surrogate ID would go to the database and it would show us the whole record that actually had the error. So no, you're right. The token of the SSN. Um, but a lot of times too, you got to be careful. Is SSNs very rarely change, but if you throw an error and you don't have the information in there, if somebody goes back and update that record, all right, you might lose the information you needed for that particular log, or if you're trying to track down an error. So, but now you write tokens. Sometimes, like you see, you go back to the token and then it matches to the actual SSNs, so you can have a cross reference. So, but now you're correct. So let's look. I think I put a couple slides on the end of that. I'll drop the link if anybody wants to come up. Let's see. Remediation and security findings. Here's some of the remediation. Manual remediation, where you manually provide a fix to the vulnerability. Reusable artifact, you update the infrastructure as code to fix a vulnerability. Automated remediation, the vulnerability is automatically remediated through mechanisms you created. Pipeline control, you apply control within your continuous integration and delivery. Pipeline that prevents deployment if the vulnerability is present. Accepted risk, you take no action to implement a compensated control and you accept the risk that the vulnerability is present. False positive, false positive, you take no action, do that, but you correctly identify a vulnerability. All right, so sometimes there's a vulnerability you think is there, but when you go dig into it, the vulnerability is not actually there. Right. So here are these three tools inside AWS on-prem, right? You have a patch manager, automates the process of patching management nodes with both security related updates and other types of function. Shout out to my man getting a CCNA. AWS Firewall Managers help you essentially configure and manage firewall rules across your accounts and application and organization. A new application is created. Firewall managers make it easy to bring the network application resource into compliance by enforcing common sets of security rules, right? So what are your standard ports you allow open for application? Um, how do you control the traffic inside your VPC inside AWS, right? So once again, AWS ORS gives you a standard setup for user accounts and best practices for AWS. Automated security response on AWS. AWS solutions that work with security hubs provides predefined response and remediation action based on industry compliance standards and best practices for security threats, right? So some of the things we were talking about inside the security family. Once again, that's system and integrity. PBO got to change the top of the slides. He's slacking this today. Let's see if anybody answer any questions. See if anybody wants to come up. Shout out to Larry. He's late. No, shout out to Larry. It's going down. It's big coming. Facts, facts, man. It's correct. I couldn't believe they disbanded the what was it, USAID. So yeah, they are not playing in there, right? So, but if you ever kind of skim through Project 2025, they had that in Project 2025, right? The smaller governments kind of Republican thing. So, what are the biggest ways you're writing this family? Any tools we didn't mention? Oh yeah, there's a ton of tools. Um, so automation from different frameworks. So from the AWS perspective, that gave you those tools that you can do automation. If you're doing Splunk or Azure, Log Analytics, and Sentinel, they give you automation in those tools from red team perspective. Then us from a GRC perspective, we kind of went over that from that privacy string, Dwight, is if you didn't have this certain key on there, right, we could automate either putting that key on or sending privacy and security in the email. Then the other part of that is we talked about using spreadsheets, but if you go into SharePoint, you can actually approve. They usually have approval flows. So one thing I was going to put in approval flow is the policies and procedures. Right, we send that to the C-suite or the privacy manager, whoever's responsible for that particular policy. It gets approved inside SharePoint. It gets moved to a security team's location that's read only to everybody else. Then when the auditors come in, shout out to Space Taco, she not here, but we put all that documentation into the GRC area. Means the policy was approved, the procedure was approved, the function was approved, but all our documentation would go there from an automation standpoint. And after there's a calendar in there 3 months before the policy or procedure becomes out of compliance, right? We can send us an email, update it to the new version, and send that back out to the executives who are responsible for it. So I think that's some of the automation we'll be looking at. All right, be safe, man. I appreciate you. I need to get back to my study. Yeah, I'm with you. But no, so I think that's some of the automation I'm looking for. Shout out to Rhonda. Glad she can make it. All good. I think I added you in the GRC Discord. We were talking about some labs. Chris was talking about risk register, poems, SOPs. He had a number of things. I think I added some to it, but yeah. So, so yeah, that's kind of what we went over. PBO got to update the slides. He was slacking on that system integrity, so I got to go put that back into the mix of things I need to fix on my list. So, I think we got one more security family. I think it's the supply chain, which is a big one. Okay, CCRP last night. That's cool. I think Chris did something with him too. I saw him on LinkedIn saying he finished something on Accolade. I dropped the link again if anybody wants to come up. Once again, something short tonight. Just kind of wanted to touch on system integrity. Figured out that I need to go update some slides. Need to do well on that. Yeah, I got to do my FIPS 200 tonight. Shout out to FIPS 200. Minimum security level for a NIST client. What would that look like from minimum security? They need to update that. Well, let's see if I missed any questions. And I think that's the big deal, Dwight, and you hit it right on head. What is that automation going to look like? Automating the families, going through each one. And I definitely think you should have, and that's one thing I need to bring up on each one of those families. What automation should be put into place and what would that look like? And let's see, Regine had the question. Yeah, once again, I think obviously they're shutting down some federal agencies. I think that work is going to go to the bigger consulting companies. So I think if you're still in that gov tech, it'll just switch more to the private sector doing that type of work. I think the states will be okay. I think the Fed is a big thing to take a bite of. So I think the states gov tech, I think, will be probably the place to be now. I think about it. And I don't think he's going to kill the IRS. He might shrink the IRS because they hired 80,000 HHS for health and hospital, CGIS, which is the FBI. So I think the states probably with the safer place to be in, kind of how to move around. Just think about it. Once again, I think a lot of consultants are gonna get that work and start moving around. Just gonna I'm gonna hang out a little bit and see if anybody wants to come up or if anybody has any additional questions. Let me check on my LinkedIn, which I never very really check on. Get my LinkedIn a little better. Trying to do a little more on LinkedIn. Let's see. Let's see. So I was answering a question. We put that in there. Oh, we did that 9 hours ago. Once again, let's see. Check back. Yep. Congratulations to R squared. Keeping those skills up. I'll hang out a little longer for any questions or if anybody wants to come up. Once again, hitting the system integrity family. BBO kind of bumming a little bit because he didn't update the header of some of the PowerPoints. PBO struggle streaming again, struggle streaming. So I want to appreciate everybody for joining the struggle streaming. Once again, if anybody has any questions, once again, we were talking about the risk register. The registry, a lot of times people you put what your risks are. I think risk, he had some malware risk, some ransomware risk, right? So if somebody asks, what happens is if that risk becomes true, that risk becomes true, that means we have an incident, right? So that means we have ransomware or somebody hacked it or somebody elevated some privilege, right? So that will actually go on a poem saying, this is our action, this is how long we have to fix it, and this is what we're doing to fix it, right? So a lot of times if we had something like malware, we would say we were getting in the poem Microsoft Defender. This is the module we getting for a particular uh, malware, virus protection, DDoS attack, right? We would get this Defender. This is the module we were hitting. So now our risk was, 70%. Now it's down to 30% because these are the things we put into place, right? Uh-oh. See what my man Ty thoughts on Elon taking over Treasury. Do you think it will affect the Fed? Yes. How it's going to affect the Fed is they're shutting down organizations, right? Big federal organizations. So he shut down what was the U.S. aid? I mean, I think they locked everybody out, right? So I think they're going to sue. I think a lot of people forget a lot of the federal jobs are a union, but no, yeah, it's going to affect the Fed um, because, well, I mean, you talking about Fed. I think you talking about specifically the Federal Reserve. Fed, from a federal perspective, Project 2025, the Republican Party for smaller government. So they're definitely going to try to shut down some very large government agencies from that. If you mean Fed, specifically the Federal Reserve, I think it's going to affect that because I think they're going to try to just make it smaller. And President Trump is not happy with the Fed because Powell's not moving the interest rates the way he wants. So I think he's going to, Federal Reserve, he's going to, I don't want to say attack the Federal Reserve, but I think him and Elon's going to give it some attention. So let's just say that. Nana Poca, let's see what they said. That's a data privacy breach right there. I don't think it's a data privacy breach now. And I know where you're going with that is Elon has been tasked by the president of the United States to do that. Right. And I don't believe it was perfectly done. Those guys got security clearance. Now we could talk about if they were done properly. We could talk about if they should have got them or not. That's a different story. But believe me, those guys have passed the security clearance. They've been moved to the front of the line, and everybody that's in there was approved to be in there. Now we can back up and says, is that right? Should they been cleared? He's not a United States citizen. We can have that discussion, right? But far as a data breach, I wouldn't call it a data breach once again because those guys have been cleared to be able to look at that data. Now we can have discussion to see if they should have. So what makes 1975 Privacy Act? And I'll let the white chime in too. And I dropped the link if anybody wants to come up. Once again, we can talk about should they not have it. Those guys have been cleared to look at that. I promise you, Elon's been cleared. I promise you, he's been cleared. What they did, Ty, and you know how this works is you can. I was cleared to work on DoD before I was cleared, meaning they did an initial clearance on me. I didn't have any federal charges. I wasn't a bad guy. Oh, facts. But we let H1Bs in there all the time, Ty. We let H1Bs in there all the time. As long as you pass your security clearance. And I promise you, they got him cleared. Now we could talk about if it was proper. I bet you they got some kind of clearance on him. Facts. The sad part is, I think they're taking over the world. I believe that with a love. But we could do so. I'm not disagreeing with you, Ty. Oh yeah, we can do foreign nationals. We got all kind of foreign nationals in our system. We got H1Bs in there. We got H1Bs at DOD. But you know how this. Well, now. So the question is, do I think Elon was cleared? I do. Now, do I think he was cleared properly? That's a whole different conversation. Do I think those guys got to the front of the line? I do. Do I think they ran Elon's background? I do. Yep, interim clearance right there. Oh yeah, we now that's the discussion right there, Ty. That's definitely the discussion. That's definitely discussion, right? But we know how this works, man. When people want you to have stuff, you're gonna have it. Now we can talk about the being proper, that we do the proper background, especially for the level of data they were looking at. But for me, Treasury is moderate, right? We talking about Social Security numbers and payments. We're not talking nuclear codes. We're not talking about troop movements, right? So the level of classification of that data, I think, is moderate. It took me 6 months to get a DOD. So yeah, facts, right? So, but right, that's a different level. TS, CS, right? You talking about uh is that a lie detector? I think TS is lie detector, right? So I don't think I could see those links. I don't think it lets you put links in here. No, no, I don't think it's the richer. Oh, facts, 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 facts. If you do $200 million, I don't think it's gonna let me. It's not gonna let you put links in there. Oh yeah, like I said, it took me 6 months to get a knack, which is basic level of um. Yeah, I just had a national background check, and it took me like 6 months. But yeah, but once again, I think once again I need to let's see. Mhm. Let's see. Let's see if I can give now a little boost. Let's see. Mhm. Let's see. Simon Coop. Uh, Now let's see if you can post that link now. I kind of gave you I made you a moderator. I think maybe you can post and let's see. Of course, shout out. Yeah, no, that's crazy. Those the data to how our currency is made, which could be used by adversaries like China. Oh, facts. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I'm not disagreeing with that. But if the background check says you're good, you're good. Now we can talk about should they been cleared, right? That's a different conversation. See if you can post that link now. I once again I upgraded you. Let me see who's in. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. I think that moderator. Let's see who's in there. I think everybody. Once again, if anybody wants to come up, you can. I'll drop the link. If anybody wants to come up, we can chop it up. It's all love on the channel. Nobody, everybody just has opinions, right? My opinion is not 100%, but I've been around a little longer. But it's all good. Like I said, I've known I've been wrong. Like I said, I agree with y'all. I just let you know how the clearance game works. People want you to have clearance. Let's see. Uh, People, please, when you're going to be doing labs, I'm working on those right now. I'm working on some labs. I'm gonna do some on my regular channel, and I'm gonna do some in this course I'm creating. Oh, I can see the link now. So let's see if I can click on it. Oh, let me click on it. Can I click on it? Let me see. I see it. Let me see if I can get to it. Let's see if I can get to it. Oh, there it goes. It says could be. Let's bring it up. Shout out to, hopefully I'm pronouncing their name right. We're going to bring it up. Uh, yep, it says could be. But let's bring it up, make it bigger. I might cut this out for my. So let's switch. Stop sharing. Get my big head off the screen. There it is. Oh, let's see. Let's make that a little bigger. Let's take me off. Can I take me off? Ooh. Make that a little bigger. A little bigger, go to 150. So you see it right there. Musk indulged full access to sensitive treasury could be a data breach. A U.S. Senator has questioned given a representative Elon Musk in the Department of Full. Yeah, facts. That's the argument, right? But like they said, it says it's could be. I don't think it will be, but that's once again that's definitely a good thing. According to two unnamed sources close to a matter, the Musk indulge to gain access and contains Medicare, customer private. Doge is a temporary organization, 100%. Works with the U.S. government, is responsible for finding ways to save money, culling departments, systems, and red tape. Senator questions the Treasury Department after it was reported that a person connected to Musk sought access to Treasury, which is maintained by non-political staff, dispersed trillions of dollars, such as, yep, 100%. In the latter, stress importance of payments. To be bluntly, these payment systems cannot fail, and any political motivation meddling. I'm deeply concerned. Yep, they're deeply concerned. I'm cool with that. Must claim the Treasury Office is responsible for approving payments, never deny payments, and even approve payments for fraudsters and terrorists. Okay, that's valid. Let's see. So, according to the Democratic, Musk could use the access to sway industry. Oh, 100%. That's always an unelected, accountable billionaire, deep ties to China. Once again, it says could be a breach, and that's 100%. But once again, is the president wanted Elon Musk to have? I'm 99% positive they gave him a security background and they cleared him. Now the discussion is should they have cleared him, right? We can have that discussion, but they have the necessary clearance to do that work. Now we can go back and argue if they should have cleared it. Once again, he's a foreign national. Obviously, he invested in political campaigns. But if people look back into all the political organizations, there's always been hedge funds, BlackRock guys been in there. Four or five of those big hedge funds always have, representative in all the campaigns. So I think it's a little more obviously once again because Elon is kind of a foreign national, but we give H-1B visas access to all kind of things. And let's be realistic. This is moderate data. This is not life or death. Once again, it's not the nuclear subs. It's not the code. It's not the location of troops. But once again, I'm not totally disagreeing with you. I'm just kind of giving you my perspective on it, right? Now, once again, I think your concerns are valid. I just think they gave him a clearance. Now we can once again the argument is the clearance valid? Let's see what Larry said. Oh, at the end of the day, Elon and his teams have facts and facts. 100%. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Facts now. Like facts. And that's gonna get you cleared every time, right? So then the other party's gonna argue, blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. But no, facts. And I think me and Larry agreeing on this one. That's all they need. Now, once again, we can talk about is it proper? Let's see what my man Ty said. That would be a conflict of interest in it. Yeah, but I think he could definitely use the data. The problem with that argument, Ty, is, and that's a great argument, is he's already the richest man on the planet, right? So, and we already give him a gazillion dollars for because we kind of got rid of NASA. So he's putting satellites up in there and he's doing all that. I mean, people, the Koch brothers always been in there. George Soros on the other parties kind of been in there. So there's been different oligarchs that I don't like and been in politics on both sides. George Soros has been doing all kind of stuff on the Democratic side, the Koch brothers, but I think with the Project 2025 and I think it's the Harris Foundation, I think taking that to the next level. But those guys has always been putting what they believe the world order should be, right? I don't want to call it the cabal, right? But those guys, George Soros, the Koch brothers, the Harris Foundation, they have a vision of what they want that to look like in capitalism. And they put their money where their mouth is from both sides. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. Once again, I dropped the link if anybody wants to come up. Um, let's see what my man Larry said. Dropping insider information in there. That's what Larry said. I work for the General Service Administration. They shut down the entire division. Oh, wow. This week, access to workstation gone in the blink of an eye. So yeah, that's crazy right there, man. And that's I used to work on the security side. When you leave on Friday, you come back Monday, we take all your access away, right? ASAP. So that's the crazy part that they're shutting down. All facts, Ty, but that's not gonna happen, man. I agree with you 100%. The problem is you can't get elected without money, right? So that's the sad part about it. We need to definitely revamp that, but I think that cat's out the bag. But we need to do something. Agency of pressure employees to quit. I mean, yeah, I've seen that. Didn't they send out where you got 8, 9, or 10 months severance, but you had to make a decision within 5 days, Larry? I saw that. That is crazy, man. The crazy thing is, I think they're gonna use a lot of good people because if I got 20 years, I'm out. And if I only wanted 10 and I got 10, I would just be out, Larry. I take my partial, my full retirement, take my buyout, get that extra 7 months, and I could always come back later on, right? My time doesn't disappear, right? So if I had 10, I could go work private and just come back and you know, that's the sad part about it. I ain't touching that R square. She said, I'd rather have Elon than Soros. So yeah, with those oligarchs been all kind of been in the mix. So good luck with that, man. Hopefully they ain't put too much pressure on you, man. Um, um, I would ride it out, man. You gotta make the best decision for you. I think you have skills. You get 10 months. You can always, get back in there. But no, I feel you though. I feel you. To be honest, I thought it would take them a minute to wind down an agency, but they cut those agencies. Because usually when we wind down a project, it took forever. So I'm a little bit surprised by the speed of that winding down. Do you have anything on your GRC? No, I'm still working on it now. I'm working with Simply Cyber, Dr. Ozier. I'm probably 60% done. Um, so it's a NIST 800-53 class. The slideshow I went over there, that's in there. I actually got the e-security family. I'm gonna do a labs to show what would you need to make a system NIST 800-53 uh, compliant. Talking about plans, incident response, COOP, configuration management plan. So definitely getting it. Hopefully it's gonna be ready by the end of this month. But I'm gonna need to get motivated. I've been kind of dragging lately. Work been kind of kicking my butt a little bit too. They're like preferring the firing squad over the gas chambers. Facts, man. Facts. That's a perspective, yeah. I can't even, yeah, that's a lot of pressure on you, man. It's just a tough job market to be in too. It's brutal out there, man, especially for remote work. Um, so I might have to go in somewhere. If I gotta lose my job, I probably have to squeeze on a suit and go somewhere. But no, once again, to nah, hopefully I'm saying it right. He's correct. I don't think that's a data breach. I think me and Larry both agree. Yep, yep. That's my specialty, NIST 800-53. I've been doing that for like 15 years. So yep. Yep. Then I'm gonna do an IRS class. I'm gonna do a NIST 800-53. IRS Pub 1075 sits on top of NIST 800-53. So I'll probably do another class on specifically IRS work and what that would look like. But yeah, it's definitely NIST 800-53, revision 5 to be exact, the R5. I need to do that. I went to the gym this morning. It didn't go well. Shout out to me. But yeah, once again, system could be a data. I don't think it's a data breach. In a traditional sound, now we could talk about we call it leakage, meaning those guys are looking at systems they didn't have correct access, right? So a data breach means an adversary or a bad guy got into the data, right? Data leakage means somebody who was not a someone who's not appropriate to look at the data, right? But from a government side, the president gave them access. Now we can talk about do they have the authority to look at it, right? From a data leakage standpoint. So I would probably call it leakage, right? Because it's in the proper system. That system um, controls are working, right? So I don't think they exfiltrated the data and took it off site, right? So data leakage, should those people um, have been cleared to look at the data, right? So once again, they're not hackers. They're not. I wouldn't consider a bad guy, right? So now we're talking about least privilege or the proper way to look at data, right? So I think that would make it more of a leakage than a data breach. I appreciate that. Yeah. So yeah, Dr. Ozier has a GRC Academy, so he's been gracious to let me partner with him, and that's going to be the first, my first class I'm gonna put out. Once again, I'm probably 60% done, so I'm doing FedRAMP, which is NIST 800-53 in the cloud. Um, FedRAMP means the government approved you to run your software, aka AWS, Azure, and Google. There was a government organization called JAB, Joint Account Board, that reviews cloud software, stamps it so you don't have to do a security assessment. They already done it. Then you, as a government agency, can use these cloud vendors because they already been approved from FedRAMP. I appreciate that, now. I appreciate that. And set up for my class. We're gonna dig in more data leakage and data breaches, right? So that's the nuance inside this, right? What's the difference between leakage and a breach, right? So, and like I said, I don't think it's a breach. Now we can talk about leakage, right? So, least privilege, should they have been given a privilege to actually look to be able to look at it, right? Shout out to GMR. What's up? Just finishing up a little bit. Cloud in the government, yeah, all the big government agencies are picking their cloud. Most governments start off with Azure Office 365. That's got a FedRAMP step. Then FedRAMP, one of the things I used to do when I was working for the state of Indiana, we were reporting to the IRS is every vendor now is in the cloud. So we had to make sure they were FedRAMP approved to have their software in the cloud and go through those checks. Shout out to Aiken, definitely one of the day ones. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. It's low cost. I think we're around I think it's gonna be 150, $150, and we're gonna I'm gonna try to do about 20 hours inside there. So making sure that I'm gonna be adding on it through the whole year. So we probably give you year access, and once again, I'm gonna be adding on to it for a whole year. And go with what we are meant to know. I really want to try to have balanced perspective. Now, facts. Do you know Jacob Hill and his work with? I heard of Jacob Hill. I haven't checked out his FedRAMP stuff. I'll probably go peek on it. I appreciate that, Aiken. So I probably do some third-party assessment videos inside my NIST course, and I have a few third-party assessments inside my YouTube playlist. So definitely check it out. I appreciate that. I'm working on. I'm working on it. Doesn't include. Yep, I'm gonna do some hands-on labs. I'm gonna do a risk assessment for a small company using this 800-53. And the cool thing I'm gonna do, a lot of people are gonna do. I'm gonna do the technical side where we're gonna run stick scans on some Windows boxes, some Unix boxes, get those findings, run those findings from findings to a poem, which is a schedule, how we close those findings, close implemented, close with a poem, close with a risk assessment, acceptance, and close with a risk exemption. What does those means in a federal program for a company level? So yep, definitely gonna have some hands-on labs. Um, so and I'm gonna use Office 365, some of their products they have in there. Once again, approval inside SharePoint for procedures and policies. So to show you how to implement that at a small company, because most people have the Office 365. A lot of stuff comes with your E3 license. So, but yep, definitely gonna give you some hands-on labs. Sometimes I have Tuesday night commitments. I appreciate you. We understand. Facts, facts. We like it. So yeah, we trying to get that done, and definitely you and the GRC study family. We're gonna do a incident response stolen laptop exercise. So I think Dwight is gonna be in it. B Dubs, of course, Chris. So yeah, so we're gonna be doing some of that with the study GRC family. That's gonna flow into the class. But yeah, once of them incident response. I used to run a lot of incident response exercises, so that's gonna be one of the hands-on labs. How do you run an incident response exercise? We're gonna actually run it on Teams, Office 365. Most companies have that. How do we record it? How do we do the communication flow? How do we document it? How do at the end we talk about these are improvements in the exercise because you got to document, and how you wrap that up and get that ready for your assessor and your auditor when they come in. I'm trying, Aiken. I've been talking about that for a couple of years, but yeah, I'm 60% done. So this class should be incredible. I appreciate you, Brenda. Trying to get it ready. Trying to get it ready. Let's see. Oh yeah, yeah. Back, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But once again, um, I've been to 3 recessions, so it's crazy with the layoffs. It's crazy now that the Fed seems to be shedding a ton of jobs. It's crazy because I think AI machine learning is gonna. Uh, I don't think it's going to take a ton of jobs away. I think you're just going to need less people to do those type of jobs. Like we're a million short in cybersecurity. I think AI machine learning is going to eat up that million, right? So I don't know if there's going to be layoffs in cybersecurity. You're just going to need less people. Once again, the SIM, CloudWatch, Splunk, Log Analytics, and Sentinel, threat hunting is done by those programs, right? You still need those, but yeah, I think you're leading less people to do that. Does it mean students need to have E5? Oh, nope, nope, nope. That is incorrect. No, 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 no. No, no. I would never. E5 is the big dog. Everything I'd use with most would be the E3 license. And a lot of things, what I'm going to do is I'll do 2 versions. What it looks like in a spreadsheet and what if it looks like if you were using a GRC tool. Because to be honest, there's still a lot of spreadsheets in GRC. Either I'm doing spreadsheets or I'm in Archer that costs a gazillion dollars. So now, I'm definitely going to do a lot in spreadsheets. Because if you could do it in spreadsheets, when you get in a GRC tool, right? That'll make it a lot easier. But now, most of the times, I'm going to be doing spreadsheet type work. We'd be using ChatGPT to generate a framework. Like we'll generate an access control NIST 800-53 inside Chat GPT. We'll take that framework and we'll update it for a fictional small company. And what would that look like? But no. We're not, E5 is too expensive. So no. We'd be doing a lot in spreadsheets because that's what I see out there. Have to get a balance is Tim the best. Hopefully the income leadership. I don't think they taking ballots like I think they taking names and asking questions later, man. They're asking for forgiveness. So they're gonna just do what they do, and you got to see them in court. How's EMAS using? EMAS has a lot of policies you can put in them, a lot of procedures. I've only used that one time, but it's kind of like a tool like Archer just for the government. Um, it's very clunky, but I haven't used it in 10 years. But you can put your policies and procedures. Then those policy will say, okay, we have a on this Windows 2022, we couldn't do encryption. I think encryption is cryptography, security family. So since we couldn't put encryption, the cryptography family has a finding. Encryption is critical. So we got to put it on a podium. How are we going to fix it, right? Do we need money in 2026? Did the cloud infrastructure just forgot to use KMS keys? But no, it's just a GRC tool used by the government that's very clunky. Like I said, I haven't used it probably in probably 15 years. So yeah, because I'm gonna try to make it cloud agnostic. But when I use AWS, most of their services map to Azure. So I might. That's a good question. So if I do something in CloudWatch, I'll look up the Azure version of that. Right. If I want to use Glacier to save money in AWS, what does that look like in Azure? So if I do cloud, I'll map it. I'll try to map them side to side because GRC perspective, and a lot of people know this is we don't configure stuff, right? We do an assessment of it. So theoretically, you would configure Kubernetes inside Azure or AWS. You just want to say these checks are on Kubernetes in AWS or Azure. So how would you configure those checks in one versus the other? So I'll take a note of that, Aiken. That's a good question. Facts. No, facts. E3 is, yep. I think E3 is the most common. So yeah, I would never do anything 5. No problem. No problem. Good. No, no, it's used by most federal governments that are using NIST are using EMAS. So that would be DOD's one. IRS. I don't think the IRS uses it. DOD. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's other things. I just know DOD using my. I don't know the name of that question. When I use it, that's a good question. I don't know. I know federal projects use EMAS. Like I said, when I was doing IRS work, we didn't use EMAS. So I don't. I need to dig into that. Who used EMAS mostly? That's not a bad play. Check out. I was looking up. I reviewed a couple of those for AWS because from a GRC perspective, I was talking about how could I secure AI, machine learning, those type of workloads inside AWS. AWS has some killer ML ops videos. So it was kind of interesting looking at that from a perspective. Yep, that's one piece, but yep, you got to assess the risk. You got to set up governance, right, which is guardrails to protect that risk or that asset, right? Then two is once you assess it, can you make it compliant? Just because you assess it doesn't mean it's going to be compliant. Once again, I'm a SME and IRS. It's called the schisms, right? So these are checks. I assess the 2022 server or Active Directory. Can I put these check on it to make it IRS compliant or FBI compliant or state police compliant? But right, no, you're right. That's one part of it, right? But So shout out to Kev Tech, GRC. I appreciate Kev Tech for giving me a shout out and giving me an interview, helping me out in 2020. Oh, that might have been 2023. Shout out to Kev Tech. Oh, yep, 100%. No, that's 100%. I had to see where that went to. Yeah, for me, part of being a senior GRC person is you got to understand those deployments to understand how to assess them, right? So 3 tiers old, people using serverless. Now the big thing that I'm hoping to get to in 2025 that I struggle with is Kubernetes and Docker, right? Everybody's doing containers, right? So how do you deploy containers? How do you assess containers? How do you put guardrails around containers? How do you make sure containers are compliant with what federal agencies you're doing your assessment for? Once again, IRS, HIPAA, High Trust, CGIS is FBI, SSI is Social Security Office has theirs. CIS is the basis for a lot of federal agencies. Then state ramp, right? They're trying to do their federal compliance from a state perspective. It's called state ramp. So definitely those deployments when you're trying to be a senior at the top and you come in, you need to understand deployments to have a conversation with your infrastructure team, your development team, your cloud team, and your CTOs and your architecture, right? I almost got in fist fights with CTOs, right? Because I'm telling them their architecture is a piece of crap, right? So I got to be able to prove it's a piece of crap, right? So I need to understand what those deployments are and what they look like. Okay, Jim R shouted in. DOD's used EMAS. CSAM was used by DOJ and other civil agencies. I've been away from the government for a few years, so no idea what they use nowadays. Yeah, I was using EMAS 10 years ago, so now facts. So Jim R added to that. I just checked who uses EMAS. It says DOD. Oh, okay. Like I said, that's when I was using it. I thought it was used for other organizations. We stopped using when I was at DOD. I was at DFAS, which is DOD Financials. We actually switched and wasn't using EMAS anymore. So I will go tell y'all to subscribe to Kev Tech, but I got most of my followers from Kev Tech. Shout out to Kev Tech. So uh, let's see, go back through, see if I missed anything. So yeah, I think I got E1. I just got a personal version of that. I got to figure out what I got. I don't think I got E3. I don't pay that much money for mine. I need to check what I got. I was doing some Office 365, so I bought an Office 365 license. Let me see if I can. I don't know what version I have. Let me look. See if I can look. I need to figure that out. What I got. What I got. Oh, I think I shut it down. I don't want to overload. Let's see. Does it show what I got? Trying to figure out what license I got. People got to dig in there. I don't know what I'll figure it out later. See, man. Once again, you can come up or drop any more questions. We're gonna wrap it up. Let's see what I got. Let's see what I got. 365. What's my line? Oh, subscription. Since I got a business standard, I don't know if that's an E3. I got to figure out what kind of license I got, but I don't think it's at even at an E3 level. So shout out to me, balling on a budget. Let's see. Let's see. What's your take on some arguments out there that GRC is the future of cybersecurity? um, I go back and forth. I always tell people there's levels to this. When I work for smaller companies and mid-sized companies, unless they're actually reporting to a federal agency, once again, I do a lot of IRS work, HIPAA high trust, or some kind of PII work that the states force them to do. I don't see GRC's teams at those size companies, right? Once again, and I usually see GRC at companies that once again are getting paid by federal, because then you have to become compliance. Now they do it at a high level, but the uh, sysadmin does it, the Active Directory guys does it, because there's best practices out for all that. So I think they do a poor man's GRC version of that. Um, I think it might be the future because I think privacy is coming in a bigger play into there. I think once again, state general attorneys are putting pressure on people, but to be honest, once again, I only see GRC that's rising to the level of importance is if they can get fined from a federal agency, right? Then the next level that I don't see privacy in there a lot unless GRC is at a big enough level where they have to comply with privacy requirements. Like NIST has a couple privacy security families. So once that gets big enough from a federal standpoint, then I see a privacy part. Farron says GRC the future. I think it's the future, but I don't think it's as big as people say it is because I only see it a GRC is once again if that company has a federal compliance, and I only see those. Um, Ron is giving a shout out here. GSA contractors more relaxed. 171, not full CMC, but yeah, but once again, that's a federal requirement, right? I still think we should do NIST 800-53 in STIGs, but 800, 171, 53, CSF. But once again, those companies have the federal requirement. That's not a lot of companies that have federal requirements, right? So when people say GRC is the future, I think it's getting more love because the Fed's putting more pressure on you, but only 20% of the companies will have a federal requirement. Now, maybe the states are going to do a little more. I don't think so. And CMC, I think they give them like 6 years or 7 years for that to come about, right? Because they didn't want to put too much pressure on it. So that's kind of my slight pushback on that. Now I eat well on federal money because usually when you got federal money, you making federal dollars and you got money to spend, right? You getting money from the feds. Shout out to PBO eating steak every Friday. I got to go on the diet in 2025 though. That's a whole other thought, but so but yeah, but that's kind of my thought patterns on Nana Farron. I think R squared is agreeing with me. Once again, I dropped the link down if anybody wants to come up. Facts. DOD should be 800-53. Big dog. How you gonna have less checks and be more secure? I'm very upset. Very upset with that. But once again, that's because I've been doing 800-53 forever. So let me get my stop sharing. But that was my take on Elon Musk. Once again, I think it's leakage, and we could talk about. I think the big question is should have he gotten cleared? I think that's the question. I think he is cleared. We could talk about it if it was a valid clearance, if they did the proper clearance for it, but him and his homies were cleared, right? So that's why they said possible breach. Once again, I think it's more leakage. Once again, it's in the system. The system's secure. Um, they onboarded on them so they could look at it, right? So I think they did all the proper steps for that onboarding. So the question is, should they have been onboarding, right? From a least privileges, or the favorite one, right to know? Should they have been given access to right to know that, right? So that's the argument. Oh, shout out to first time we doing audits. We passed our SOC 2. Congratulations. That's a big one. Yep. I'm not a big SOC 2 type 2 fan, but those are definitely decent checks. And a lot of times, which very gets PBO very riled up, is um, people just take your SOC 2 type 2 and won't do any additional questions, right? They get their attestations from an accounting firm and they said they're good. PBO don't accept top SOC 2 type 2. Yep, 2701 is getting popular. I always thought that was a European compliance, but I think it's becoming more and more popular inside the US. PBO is not happy about that. But once again, he old and grumpy. Um, but I think let me chime in on that. Now, not everybody's in the GRC, right? Of course, Kev Tech has a numerous skills. He's talking about Active Directory, Windows. I'm sure he's got a ton of other skills. So the GRC person would definitely work with the Active Directory person, the Windows 2022 person. Of course, Kev Tech has a myriad of skills, right? But the GRC is going to give those checks to that particular person and pull them back. Let's see, he's a senior. So I didn't know that. Shout out to I worked at Site 2 tiers. I know Kev Tech has a myriad of skills. But SOC 2 Type 2 are super popular. When I do third party assessments, I ask them if they have SOC 2 Type 2, right? Because for me, that'll take care of your medium and level checks. So then let's level up to the big boy checks, but definitely SOC 2 Type 2. All our vendors, I think a lot of times when they give me a SOC 2 Type 2, they think they're done. That is incorrect. That's incorrect. Do you have FIPS 140-2 encryption in there too, right? So what's your Active Directory onboarding? Once again, we went over system and information integrity, even if his slides were labeled wrong, which I'm bumming about, but part of getting the class up. But once again, here's the checks for that. Yep. Shout out to Kev Tech. I'm gonna have to interview him on my channel. We can chop it up about the SOC 2 Type 2 and the ISOs. Talk about assessments and what that looks like. Like I said, SOC 2 Type 2 is becoming super popular. Because it's kind of like once you get that, if people giving you basic security questionnaires, you get them with the SOC 2 Type 2. And usually that gets you out of the security questionnaires for a lot of companies. Let's see, I'll hang out and eat a little longer, see if there's any more questions. PBO is supposed to work a little bit tonight. PBO going to bed. PBO going to bed. Once again, I dropped the link if anybody wants to come up. I appreciate the questions. I appreciate people joining me tonight, aka Late Night with PBO. This is usually my time, Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. I think Chris is trying to get me to change it, peer pressure, trying to go into bed. But no, shout out to Chris. So once again, I get back on my YouTube schedule. Once again, I've been kind of focusing on my course, so I just been going live one night a week. Work's been killing me too. So, I'm actually in Simply Cyber's Discord. I'm in Kev Tech's Discord. So if you add me in Kev Tech's Discord, I'll definitely show up. I'm in Simply Cyber's Discord. Dr. Ozier, Study GRC, Chris Whitlock and his team. So I'm probably in 6 or 7 Discord. So usually if you at me, I'll pop in there like the back signal. Yeah, my dog's looking at me like I'm crazy this week. Yeah, facts, facts. This time is flying by already. Once again, I'll hang out a little longer. See if I have no idea, to be honest. What I don't know. Ty, I need to look into that. Yeah, I keep thinking about getting another dog. I like dogs, but when I put down my Great Dane 15 years ago, that almost killed me. So I don't know if I want to get another one. I keep saying I'm gonna travel, which I never do. So we'll see. So yeah, I might start doing SOC 2 type 2 videos. Once again, that's super popular. Once again, I'm not a huge SOC guy. I'm just so NIST federal oriented, but once again, SOC 2 type 2 is super popular. And a lot of vendors, RPs and vendors, they're asking their vendors to have SOC 2 type 2 reports. So you see that a lot. Yeah, I might have to go cut this part off where we were having our Elon discussion. I've been seeing a lot of, I don't know, yeah. So once again, I think it's more leakage. My cat jumps on my table. It doesn't let me work. Yep, SOC 2 type 2, facts. SOC type 2, SOC type 1, SOC type 1 type 2, SOC 2 type 2. I was just 2 type 2 because I know that's more of the security and computer checks. I think one is financial. I need to study that for the CISSP. I've been slacking on that. Oh, yep. Shout out to put those are big dogs on which uh less so the more or less like no, I think it's basic security checks. I wouldn't call it specifically for incident responders. I'll let Kev Tech chime in on that one. When I usually see it from third party check, I usually looking for basic security checks. They usually talk about access control, encryption, logging. They do have. I do look for incident response in there. If they get hacked, how long do they got to notify me? That's usually for me one smart of the SOC 2 type 2. But once again, if Kev Tech's still here, I'll let him chime in on that. I think he has a little more experience. But once I look at him a lot, once again from a third party assessment. I used to look at them for third party assessment. So make sure the vendors have those and what are we looking for in a SOC 2 type 2 from a security perspective, especially from the NIST checks. Then two, what is NIST looking for that wouldn't be on the SOC 2 type report? I don't think firmware would be on the system SOC 2. Um, I don't think input validations on a SOC 2. I think monitoring is on a SOC 2. Policies and procedures will be on a SOC 2. I don't think memory protection will be on a SOC 2. Uh, I don't think quality operations will be on a SOC 2. I think they have some PII checks. Probably PII legal if you got some contracts to be in SOC 2. But I don't think they talk about quality of operations. That was my take on that, Nana. That's a good question. I don't. I think Kev Tech left. I had to hit him on his channel. I'm in his disc. Oh, he's there. Let's see. We deal with audit, SOC Type 2 ISO, social engineering. No, facts, facts. Yeah, SIM is super big. I usually do risk assessments on a SIM. Oh, that's cool. There you go, Ron. Yeah, I'll probably do a couple Intune videos from a NIST perspective too, especially from inventory and some other stuff. I'm sure your Intune skills are way better than mine, so I'm trying to get a little better on those Windows Defender, Intune, their whole suite of stuff. It's Microsoft does a great job for a great price. No, it's not the best of the best, but I think they set the low bar super high now. So shout out to Microsoft. They used to get a bad rap in the 80s and the 90s. They're a lot better with their security. So shout out to them. So I want to thank everybody for joining me. Uh, yeah, I think I'm gonna Kev Tech. I think I'm gonna do Intune from a NIST perspective. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things inside NIST. I mean, inside NIST and Intune that's gonna help you with those NIST requirements. Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna have to go check that out myself because I'm once again I want to appreciate everybody for joining me. Shout out to Kev Tech. Glad it could come and check me out. Appreciate you for joining, Nana. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. R squared. I'm always in the Simply Cyber study GRC. Definitely Kev's Tech's Discord. I want to appreciate everybody's joining me. Shout out to my man Larry. I just want to wish him good luck in those big decisions he has to make. That's a lot of pressure. Farron, Jim R for joining. Shout out to Dwight. I think he cut out. Shout out to Aiken. Brenda. Let's see Aiken. Jim R. So shout out to Larry. Big decisions, man. It's rough out there. It's rough out there. Shout out to Ty. Once again, I want to thank everybody for joining me. Appreciate you. Gonna add this to my playlist. My NIST 800 by Willie, my compliance playlist. I need a scheduled consultant with you and happy birthday. Yep, we can do that again anytime. ProfessorBlackOps at gmail.com. I gotta do a better job of looking at my email. I appreciate that, R Square. Hit the like button on your way out. Once again, everybody have a great